face it, no one can predict the future. But doesn't it make sense to protect your child now? Acknowledging paternity means that your child can receive child support, become eligible for coverage under his or her father's medical insurance, receive any Social Security benefits and inheritance rights, as well as having access to medical records. Now, these things may not matter to you now, but they could make a big difference in your child's future. And while you're taking steps to establish paternity, you might also want to consider marriage. If so, there may be services available in your community through your place of worship or local social service agency to help you think through that decision and help prepare you for a long-lasting, healthy marriage.
It was important to me that my son know who his father was and to have Brian's name on the birth certificate. The paternity form did that, and it was quick and easy, and it didn't cost us anything.
Well, I grew up without a dad, so I had some experience in that area, but making sure my son is protected and supported is the most important thing to me. It's a great feeling to look at him and know that's my son. He's a part of me. There's really no feeling in the world quite like it.
While we were at the hospital, we thought about getting married, but for both of us, who grew up without a dad, it seemed like a difficult decision to make. We weren't sure what it would mean or if we were ready.
Well, I wanted to wait until we had more money, until we knew more about our job situation. But this lady at the hospital was telling us about a class that we could take, to help us decide. Like I said, I really love Lucy and my new son, and I thought it would be great if I at least checked it out. What I learned really surprised me.
Yeah, what really blew our minds was that most couples that don't get married usually break up within 2 years, which meant that our son probably wouldn't have a dad full-time by the time he started preschool.
Yeah, she said over 70% of couples break up, even when they love each other as much as we do. Like I said, my father wasn't there for me, and I plan to be there for my son. I think it made a huge difference in my life, not having him around. Like I said, we love each other and our son. We wanted to show a commitment to each other and our child, so we decided to get married and form a real family. And now, I get to see my son every day.
As you review your options, remember that acknowledging paternity is a key step you can take right away to protect your child's future. Everybody wins. The father gets the reassurance that he is the legal father with all the associated rights. The mother knows that she will have someone there to share in the financial and emotional support needed to raise a child. And the child enjoys the benefits of having two parents, both sharing in the joy and responsibility of raising a healthy and happy child. Now that you've seen the benefits, we'll take a look at how the process of establishing paternity actually works. You will be given the paternity form in the hospital. All hospitals are legally required to offer unwed parents the opportunity to sign a paternity acknowledgement at the time of their child's birth. You will be presented with oral and written informational materials and a voluntary paternity acknowledgement form. When parents sign the form, paternity is legally established, but in order for it to be valid, both parents need to sign. Then the form will be notarized or witnessed by another person, such as a hospital representative. Later, the hospital staff will process the form with the State Vital Records Office to make sure the father's name appears on the child's birth certificate. Once the form is signed, either parent has up to 60 days to withdraw the acknowledgement. This is done by submitting a signed rescission form to the State Vital Records Office. After the rescission form is filed, the man is no longer considered the legal father. But keep in mind that if either parent changes their mind after the 60 days were up, they would find it very difficult to convince the court to overturn the paternity acknowledgement. At that stage, it's pretty final.
Well, the first thing I did for my son was sign a paternity form. Then a few weeks later, Lucy and I took a class on marriage, to help us decide if we were ready or not. I guess I had a lot of ideas that weren't quite right. Like if you love someone, you wouldn't argue. Well, wrong. I guess you'd still argue. It's pretty normal.
And I guess since I didn't grow up with a dad in the house either, I also had a lot of weird ideas. But the class helped to paint a real picture of marriage as opposed to the fantasy that I had. I think that all couples that have a baby should take the class, whether they're considering marriage or not.
Yeah.
Like Brian and Lucy, you may decide that marriage is the best option. Whether or not you are considering marriage, you still need to establish paternity. Here are a couple of things to consider. First, signing the voluntary paternity acknowledgement form does not automatically guarantee visitation rights, custody, or child support. For each of these, a separate agreement or court action is required. For most parents, these rights and responsibilities can be agreed upon without going to court. After all, the child is going to need the involvement of both parents for the support and nurturing he or she requires. But remember that by signing the paternity acknowledgement, you create the legal basis for establishing these rights and responsibilities. That's why, if either the mother or man is not entirely sure whom the biological father is, they should not sign paternity papers. Instead, you might want to consider having a genetic test so you can know for sure whether you are the biological father. Genetic tests are a common practice performed in one of two ways, either with a painless Q-tip-like swab inside the mouth of the mom, the dad, and the child, or through a small sample of blood drawn from all three. Unwed parents who are interested in genetic testing should contact their local child support enforcement agency for further information. Of course, if you are receiving or will be applying for public assistance, you will be expected to cooperate with government officials in identifying your child's father and establishing legal paternity.
I'm glad I signed the form. That way my son will know from the very first day he was born that I loved him and I wanted the best for him.
Well, our situation was like that of a lot of other people who are in love but aren't really sure what to do. We didn't have a lot of money for a big wedding, but we knew we wanted to be together. And we also learned in the class that a healthy marriage was the best way to make sure that our son would always have two parents around.
Being a dad every day is so much different than being a drop-in dad. And that's what I wanted for my son. That's why marriage is the best option for us.
As you make your own decision regarding the legal fatherhood of your child and marriage, consider these important points covered in the video. First, fathers do make a difference. Second, every child deserves two full-time parents. Third, acknowledging paternity is fast, easy, and free. Fourth, if you are considering marriage, there may be services available in your area that can help you think through that decision and help you build a strong and healthy marriage. Acknowledging paternity today will help you start building a solid foundation for your child's life, now and in the future, as does marriage. That's the power of two, and it could be the greatest gift you give your child.